Okay, welcome. It's Andy Lee Graham. I'm in a place called Solar Pools, a restaurant, kind of hot pools, hot water, thermal pools. And it's a very nice restaurant. It's very windy today. I hope this isn't going to cause problems. But today, I'm on Lake Atalan, Guatemala, one of the world's best climates, and maybe one of the most beautiful lakes on the planet, according to Audius Huxley. But maybe check it out also. But Andy Graham also. Okay, but I'm going to talk about Jordan Peterson, my 5 questions. Okay, the 5 questions I want to ask Jordan Peterson. Oh, gracias, Misha.
Nada.
Perfecto. ¿Tú tienes sal y pimienta?
Sí, sí, claro.
And I kind of have to pay to be here by buying breakfast, right? I'm not drinking any more coffee because I've already had an overload. Okay, but 5 questions that I would like to ask Jordan Peterson. But I'm aspiring to inspire you to become an expert. And I really believe in today's world, you can become an expert in almost any subject you want. If you want to be an expert on sciatica, you can. If you want to be an expert on yoga, you can. If you want to be an expert, because right now we can YouTube it, we can read it, we can do a deep dive on any subject, and you can become smarter than a doctor. You can be smarter on most any specific subject. You can get your as you said, Malcolm Gladwell says, 10,000 hours. You can do that on any kind of subject. Gracias, Misha. Okay. But I want to inspire you to become an expert. Okay, first question for Jordan Peterson. Jordan, I believe that people are institutionalized by work. Can they actually stop working after they work for 30 years in a job where they show up at 8 o'clock every day? Can they actually stop thinking about being busy? Because at work, we're taught to stay busy. So I want to have your opinion on institutionalized, say, being an institutionalized person. This is usually, they say it about people that are in like mental hospitals, or they say it that, about, they got two types of groups they ignore, but the big one is commonly said, like in Shawshank Redemption, this guy was institutionalized in prison, and he only felt safe by having this structure. Okay, and the guy gets out of the prison and he actually hangs himself. Okay, this is not being able to deal with freedom. Okay, but after a person's been institutionalized by work or the U.S. military, they don't use these examples, but it's kind of interesting. I'll try to read it. Living under rules of an institution. Institutionalization refers to the process by which individuals become adapted to a life within an institution. Okay, so this could be work, hospital, being in the hospital, or like a nursing home or something like that, prison, mental facilities, military, and work. And I'm trying to get people to focus on the fact that they're institutionalized by work. I used to always recommend to people, Jordan, that they quit work and they retire. Well, now I realize I'm taking away their comfort zone, so I don't do that much anymore. I let them stay within their comfort zone. But a lot of people really go kind of crazy when they do it. And if they go abroad, they go on endless vacation, and all they do is go on a 2-week millionaire drinking all the time. And it's kind of sad because they do exactly what they did on the weekends. So their weekends extend, or they get up every day and they try to decide what they have to do. Okay, and I go, you're retired. You don't have to do anything, but they can't. They like plan out the day, and I go, you don't have to plan anything. You can serendipitously live. But institutionalization makes people dependent. It makes them a loss of initiative. They can't actually come up with new ideas. It makes them socially withdraw because they need these rules. Okay, and that's what an institution like. I worked with some people that got out of the military. When I had a job for about 2 years working concrete, we had people that got out of prison, and they were really good workers because they obeyed everything. Okay, it was amazing because they were institutionalized to obey. but people are institutionalized to think. Now, there's people that go to work every day of their life and try to disobey the boss. That's a whole different situation, right? But they're routine dependency. They have a routine dependency. So, what do you think? Can you actually retire, Jordan? I want to know. Can you really think it's a learned helplessness? Okay, they're going to have difficulty. Shawshank Redemption is a really good movie if you want to see about the one older gentleman that basically served up all the books. He gets out of prison and he was so unhappy he killed himself. Really sad. They have difficult time making decisions because they always had a boss making their decision. Okay, number 2 question, and I want your opinion. Why do people leave their own culture? Why do people, they grow up in a really small town and they have all these friends and then they go radically, like move to New York City, okay? And it's a whole nother culture, okay? And in a way, this ties in with urbanization. Urbanization is people are leaving the small cities and they're all going to the big cities, and the big cities are getting bigger and bigger. So like Europe is 75% of the people live in cities and 25% in the country. The United States is probably about 45% live in the cities and another 65 or whatever live in the countryside or small towns. So but the cities are getting bigger and people are deserting the small towns. Why is this? Why do they have this, like almost insane desire to go into complexity, right? It's amazing to me because I often say the bigger the problems, the bigger the city, the bigger the problems. And it's obvious that the bigger cities have all the crime, but they go where all the crime is, right? It's amazing. So I want to understand urbanization, and I want to understand why you have to leave your own culture. People want to leave their own culture. In my opinion, I think it's because they want to go have purple hair and they don't want to be accountable to everybody. And they basically hate their family and they hate their friends and they hate their community. And they want to be the opposite, like a never-ending iconoclast. But that's not really what they're doing. They don't really have a clue what they're doing. So I kind of call them the rebels without a clue. But they're angry at their culture. They're not wanted by the cultures. I make a statement all the time that the expats, especially the ones that go outside the United States, are the wanted by the United States, wanted by the law, unwanted by the United States. So these people were not wanted in the country, so they left. They're like angry at the country, unwanted, so they leave. Or they're hermits that have no desire to be, they're misanthrope or I can't say the word. They hate people, okay? So you got hermits. So you got 3 types of people that normally become. I started traveling because I was endlessly curious, a philosophy of curiosity, as Elon Musk would say. And I felt that the quality of the girls, I wanted to get married, and the quality of the women I was meeting abroad, I was dating a bunch of divorced women in Fort Wayne, right? And the women I was meeting abroad were very, diverse and intelligent and international. Hermits, they want to avoid people, so the expats are the wanted, the unwanted, and the hermits. I added the hermit part. 3rd question. Do all people think? And this is just a lot of people could probably get angry with this question. But I sit there and I go, is there anything going on in their head? Like when I worked in a factory for about 6 months when I was age 18, they put you at a machine, and I asked this older gentleman that was just sitting there running this machine, I said, what do you think about it? And he goes, I don't know. And I think there's people that can almost put their brain on stall. Okay, so Jordan, I want to know, can people actually have? And I always give the excuse that when there's really, really loud music, the reason why they like loud music, in my opinion, is there's nothing in the head anyway, so they might as well enjoy the vibration. And so does the brain go into a cycle where it can actually stop thinking? Is there something truly going on in all brains? I know there's certain maintenance things going on, keeping the heart running and all this stuff, but it doesn't really it seems like some people slow down the actual being able to ask questions of themselves. Like I have a never-ending set of questions going through my brain, and I'm always observing something, and I'm answering the questions, and I'm observing. but I see people walk in a place and never notice anything. Okay, and it's kind of scary. Okay, but if you want to travel the world, it's for the endlessly curious. I mean, you're going to walk in and everything's of interest to you, not just one subject. Everything. I'm endlessly learning as an autodidact about everything. Okay, I just everything interests me. The whole world is an enigma to me. But people will work at a repetitive job. They stay busy in solitary. In jail, solitary confinement is torture because they have to be alone with by themselves. But there's some people have constant input. They never have time where they actually have to think on their own. There's something controlling the thing. So like the boss is constantly giving them input. And so they're structured, right? And they don't have to think. And they love it. They got their headsets walking down the street. The music's blaring in their head and they don't need to think. Is there something going on there? I like the buzz in my brain of some good question. And I don't like the music interrupting it. Fourth question. And this is kind of a thing I learned just in the last couple of years. There's people that when I read a book, I've got a movie going on, and we call this like picture thinking. We're basically have a picture going through our mind, and when I invent something, I'm actually creating and analyzing. When I'm writing something, I got a picture, and I'm like, if I design something, like I'm making shirts right now, I'm I'm making alterations in the design in my head in a picture. I can invent a whole thing in my head. But I want you to explain this phenomenon, okay? Because I've told that 25 to 50% of people do not ever think in pictures. And I don't know how they think if they don't have a vision of what they're doing. I got to believe there's a float over or there's a nuance area here where people are sort of a little bit thinking in pictures. But, I ask people to imagine something in their head or get them to do mathematics in their head. When I remember a Spanish word or a French word or whatever language I'm learning, I remember it better when I see the word written out. So I just asked this lady, she was telling me that they call this estrellados eggs. Estrellados. So I had her write it down, and I just was calling them fried eggs, huevos frito. And I learned a new word, and I've ordered thousands of eggs in Spanish, okay? But when I read a book, I see a film. I design innovations in my brain. Visualization or forming mental images. Okay, I put the Wikipedia link into this Google Docs sheet that I'll put into the description. Sometimes I don't get it up there as fast as I'd like to do. But you can call this visual thinking, spatial thinking, picture thinking. Picture thinking is easy to understand. 60 to 65% of the general population does this. And then real picture thinkers is maybe only like 30. So I would guess I'm a real picture thinker. And when I'm describing something to somebody, I'm trying to explain the picture, and often the person's just lost. And I can take a piece of paper out and draw it for them because they're not forming the drawing in their head. But this is a really interesting thing. 45% use both visual and spatial thinking. 25% think exclusively in words. And I almost feel sorry for these guys. Okay. The next question is, fifth question. What percentage of people can strategize? I started to write a book called The Strategies of Travel, and I collected like 250 strategies. And I have them in a database, and they're still there. And then as I was researching how to describe a strategy and the definition of a strategy, I ran across some ad hoc, psychobabble type of definition saying that the military had determined that only, say, 5 to 7% of people can actually inherently come up with a strategy. And I believe that because often I explain strategies and the person, I can explain it to them. We can walk out the door and they don't do it. They don't understand a strategy. And I really like to talk about this in a deep dive because I was ready to write this book and I go, wait a minute, only about 5% are going to even understand the book. And they're just going to get angry because they do it. Like I will explain how to strategies to get a hotel or something like that, or strategies on how to meet a woman, strategies. And people just give me a blank look and I go, what's going on in their head? Why is this type of thinking? Because everybody wants to act like everybody can do everything. And that's just not true. Okay. We have people that are naturally good at mathematics. We have people who are naturally good at languages. Like I am not good at languages. I have to write down every single word, and I have to repeat it. Estrellados, and I have to look. So if I'm looking at the eggs, and then I'm doing, but I'm annoyed that people can't understand strategies because a strategy can keep you safe. And if I explain a strategy and they do something different, I don't know what to do, right? I can only say obey my dictum, right? And I don't want them. I want to show them a principle, a strategy, so they feel safe. And it don't work, okay? And I've pretty much given up on it. But strategy is coming up with a novel way of dealing with a situation that is not uh, predictable in a lot of ways. But I could talk for an hour on strategy, and maybe I will one day. Okay, I'm Andy Lee Graham, and these are the 5 questions I'd really like to have a 1 to 2 hour conversation with Jordan Peterson about, and we can go into back and forth. And this is kind of questions that a dialogue would be a lot better. And I really enjoy psychology, whatever you want to call these words. And you can explain to me why I'm dyslexic, why not radically dyslexic, but a little dyslexic, and is it go on and continue. But I'm here and you're not. Why not? And I thank you very much for listening to this. And what I truly need in my life is a brain buzz questions. I need questions like these that I think, like, I got a question is on food. How long can an egg sit in its shell without being refrigerated before it rots? It's amazing. You don't have to put eggs in refrigerators. So I'm always coming up with these interesting dilemmas, like, and they put them on, Quark, Reddit and that Quark, whatever, I can't remember the name of it. But I do searches, and these guys come up with these absolutely ridiculous answers oftentimes. I waste my time most of the time. But I do a deep dive on questions until I understand why. Like I solved my sciatica by doing a deep dive. But everybody can become an expert. And I really want to inspire you. I aspire to inspire you to become an expert on something. Once you become a mastery at something, your self-esteem grows. And that's one reason why travel is very, very good for people, because 99.99% of the people make it to the destination. Some of the people, for a lot of people, this is the only thing they ever done in their life where they said, I'm going to go do it, and they did it and finished it. They have like a whole lifetime full of poorly, they never finished anything really and done it great. And travel gives you a lot of self-esteem because they start something and they arrive and they finish. And even if it takes them twice as long, they still finish it. So it's one of the best activities for self-confidence there is. Okay, I'm going to be in Lake Atalan, one of the world's best climates. Really windy today. I'm in a restaurant called Solar Pools, and I'll be trying to go live here. They got high-speed internet. And I always looking for the brain buzz question, the question that I can't just answer off the top of my head, but I need to think about for 2 or 3 days. Normally that involves a strategy. I think Dave was asking me how to choose a hospital the other day, which is a more complicated thing. I mean, there's like many different ways to do this, and you need like 8 different strategies, and that makes it more dynamic and more complicated. And people that can't really think in multi-dimensional ways get very scared. Like COVID-19, about 60% of the expats that were living abroad for years went home because they were afraid. And then it's not really clear why. Okay. Okay. Hit that subscribe button, and if you have that brain buzz question you want to challenge me, it's hoboontheroad@yahoo.com. Hoboontheroad@yahoo.com. And if anybody happens to see Jordan Peterson, said I've got him on my sites. I would like to sit down and have a deep dive into some of these questions. Okay, Merry Christmas. Oh, I always say that to make sure you're listening. It's like December of 2023. Life is good. Lake Catalan, Guatemala. Andy Lee Grant.